Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Mariella, and as you saw in the topic, we are going to talk about one of my favorite topics, which is cognitive boundaries and the skill sets that quietly changes how your brain is operating at the moment. So let's dive in. Have you ever noticed how exhausting it is when someone else's problems start living inside your mind? Maybe it is a conversation on that keeps replaying in your head. Maybe it is someone's criticizing that you cannot stop thinking about. Or maybe it is the pressure of trying to keep everyone around you happy. And suddenly, your mind isn't yours anymore. It is so crowded and it is full of questions and it is questioning your own values. It is noisy. And the strange part is sometimes nothing is actually happening in the present. It is not the momentum, but your brain is still processing things that belong to other people. This is something I struggled with so deeply for a long time in my life, especially during medical school and whole of my studies. I was constantly mentally occupied with other people's expectations, relationship conflicts, financial stress, and with quiet pressure to prove something, not just academically, but personally. I was always left behind, at least I was feeling like. And what I slowly realized was that the problem wasn't only external circumstances. The real problem was that I had no cognitive boundaries. So, what does that mean? My mind was open territory to everyone else's emotions, opinions, and chaos. Once I started learning how to protect that space, something interesting happened. My thinking became clearer, my energy returned, and I was finally, finally able to move toward my goals with far less resistance. So today, I actually want to talk about something that is rarely discussed but incredibly important. It is called cognitive boundaries. Not just emotional boundaries, not just social boundaries, but the boundaries that protect your mental space. Okay, you're gonna ask, what are cognitive boundaries? Most people understand the idea of boundaries in relationships. For example, saying no when someone asks too much from you. They expect something that you are not able to deliver. But cognitive boundaries are different. They are about what you allow to occupy your mind. Your brain has limited processing capacity. The prefrontal cortex, the area responsible for decision making, planning, and focus, can only manage a certain amount of information at once. When your mental space is constantly filled with unresolved conversations, imagined arguments, other people's opinions, social comparisons, or worries about things outside of your control. You know what happens? Your brain becomes mentally congested. And when the brain is congested, clarity disappears. It takes much longer to focus. Goals start feeling harder than they actually are. Not because you're incapable, but because your mental energy is being spent everywhere except where it matters. My personal realization at this point is there was a period of my life where I felt like I was constantly pushing forward but emotionally exhausted. I was studying medicine, I was dealing with financial stress, and my relationships were also complicated. My mind never rested. Even when I was sitting quietly, I was thinking about, what does this person think of me? What if I fail? What if this business doesn't work? What am I going to do with my life? Why did that conversation go wrong? It felt like I was carrying 10 different mental worlds inside my head. But slowly I realized something very important, that peace is not something that appears when life becomes perfect. Your life will never become that perfect. Peace appears when you stop giving mental space to things that do not belong to you. And that is where cognitive boundaries begin. You need to understand what kind of boundaries you need. And I'm going to tell you 5 ways to build cognitive boundaries for yourself. So let's talk about 5 practical ways you can start building cognitive boundaries today. Okay, these are the shifts that I need you to change about your mind operations. I want you to stop mentally replaying conversations. This is one of the biggest drains on mental energy. Many people spend hours replaying conversations in their heads. What should I have said? Did they misunderstood me? Maybe I should explain myself again. This is not correct. But here's the reality. Your brain cannot change the past by analyzing it repeatedly. What it does instead is trap you in a cognitive loop. Healthy cognitive boundaries mean recognizing when a thought is no longer productive. Sometimes the most intelligent response is simply saying to yourself, that moment is finished. It's already gone. I cannot change it anymore. And allowing your mind to move forward. And you know, the beauty of brain is to be able to forget. And the second thing is, do not internalize every opinion. One thing that helped me tremendously was realizing that other people's opinions are reflections of their perspective, not definitions of my thoughts. Especially when you're ambitious or pursuing difficult goals, people will project their fears and assumptions onto you. Some people will doubt you. Some misunderstand you. Some judge your choices. Why did you do that? Why you even think like that? But if every opinion enters your mind and stays there, your inner voice eventually becomes very quiet. Cognitive boundaries mean deciding which voices deserve space in your mind, and many of them simply do not. So the third one is going to be protect your attention like a resource. Your attention is one of the most valuable cognitive resources you have. Every notification, every argument, every unnecessary comparison consumes it. Have you heard of the term, that person is so unbothered? I want you to become unbothered. Once attention is scattered, progress becomes slow. This is why any high performing individual intentionally limit distractions. They intentionally don't care. Not because they're antisocial, but because they understand something deep and important. Where your attention goes, your life follows. If you constantly feed your mind noise, you cannot expect clarity. The fourth one, and this is my favorite, is going to be separate empathy from responsibility. This is something many compassionate people struggle with. You know what? You can care about someone without carrying their emotional burdens inside your mind. Empathy does not require mental absorption. You can listen, you can support, you can care, but there is a difference. You're not responsible for solving their emotional situation around you. When you absorb too much, your brain becomes emotionally overloaded. Cognitive boundaries allow you to care without becoming mentally consumed. And the fifth one and the last one is going to be give your mind space to reset. Finally, your brain needs intentional quiet. In neuroscience, we know that when the brain enters what it is called the default mode network, it begins processing experiences, organizing memories, and restoring mental balance. But this only happens when the brain is not constantly stimulated. Moments of silence, walking alone, journaling, or simply sitting with your thoughts allowing the brain to recognize and reorganize itself. Without that space, your mind never fully resets. And I want you to listen to this part carefully. If there is one thing I have learned through my own struggles, financially, emotionally, academically, it is this one. Your external life improves dramatically when your internal environment becomes calmer. And that calmness does not come from controlling everything around you. It comes from protecting what happens inside your mind. Not every opinion deserves your attention. Not every problem deserves your mental energy. Not every situation deserves to live in your thoughts. Digest all of these and take a deep breath. Once you start creating cognitive boundaries, something beautiful happens. You know what is that? Your mind becomes quieter, your decisions become clearer, and the path toward your goals feels far less heavy. Because now, your mental space finally belongs to you. And that is where real progress begins. I want you to take a moment and think about all of these things that you got to learn about. And I am loving to hear about your own experiences from you. If this resonated with you and if this helped you today, please comment below and don't forget to subscribe to my channel because we will have many other interesting videos about this topic, and I will see you in the next videos. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye bye.